Let's try this again. Hello. Yeah, I just tried this about 2 minutes ago and I had messed it up. So I'm hoping now I can do this. I'm having one of those days, you guys. I just kind of am. So, hello. To work on inking this illustration. I drew this a little while ago and I was waiting for approval from the person who commissioned it. And at this point, I've been told to go ahead and finish inking it. So that's what I'm going to do. So it's a part of the whole City Builder series that I started what feels like an eternity ago now. Kind of like an extra thing for a high-level back that we would do a write-up for. And this backer selected a curiosity shop. And so we've got a bunch of like cool architectural type curiosities for different places in the world of coasts is what we did for like our kind of the setting that we based a lot of the City Builder stuff off of illustration wise, but you can use it for whatever. And really this setting is kind of like, I based the layout off of the description in the write-up, but I was drawing my inspiration visually from a cool like antique and import shop I used to like going to in Savannah when I lived there. It's called Clipper Trading. I think I think it's like a small chain. I think there was more than one of them, but I don't know for sure. But it was really cool. They had all sorts of neat stuff. And I used to go shopping there for gifts for people all the time just because they had neat and unusual stuff. But their shop was laid out kind of similarly to what I ended up going with for this. So trying to get some of this stuff done with tools first off. I'm trying to do this in as sensible an order as possible so that I'm not dragging my ruler through wet ink. Ah! All right, I'm going to try not to make a mess of what I literally just worked on there. I feel like I can probably get some of this area started. Oh, you can tell that I did not use a straight edge when I was making these lines in the pencils. Some of them because there was like all these little like parallel lines on the stairs. I did use a straight edge when I drew them because I knew that if I didn't, it would be a nightmare to figure out when I went to ink it. This like window here, I definitely did not use a straight edge on. And oh, and it's suddenly raining outside. I was not expecting that. Okay. I have the window to the outside right next to my table, drafting table here. I might have to reach up and close the window in a minute if the rain starts going all sideways like. I have to very obsessively close this window every night so that if we unexpectedly get rain when I am not in here, then my work does not get ruined. Because that would be terrible. Got a horizontal line there. Got this railing here. I'll try not to make the entire hour of me inking just this stuff. There is a fair amount of it on this image since it's an interior. Trying to just get through enough of it that I can start working on something else. We'll see how far we get in an hour. This is a pretty complex image with lots of little bits and bobs, which made it a lot of fun to draw. Get these stairs in here. See, and this is another one of those illustrations where I am not going to be adding a bunch of texture or anything because this is going to be digitally colored afterwards. So I just need some nice line weights to help define these forms. And then, oh yeah, that's clearly not a line that I did with a straight edge. The other ones on the steps were, that one's not. Anyway, yeah, so I just need to give some nice lines and different weights to help define all of these forms. I don't know if you guys could hear that. That was a hummingbird right outside my window that chattered at me. I just refilled your food yesterday. Don't chatter at me like that. All right, I was able to get a lot on that directional pass. There's just so much going on in this image. Get some eraser crumbs out of the way here. Oh, I didn't roll my sleeve back down. I was wondering why that felt uncomfortable. It's a compression sleeve, so if you don't roll it back down, it's like, wow, why is something choking my wrist? Oh, I should have done the pedestal that that little gargoyle thing is on. Whoops. All right, and then back here in this room, these are going to be some very light line weights because these are fading back into the distance here. In the other room, you don't want them super bold and standing out. You want to push them back a little bit. Okay, now the struggle is with all of these very close parallel lines to not like go cross-eyed trying to do this. Trying to be very careful here and not get all confused because these parallel lines are very visually confusing. Good grief. I don't know if the microphone's picking that up, but the heavens suddenly just opened. And I have a metal roof here on the studio, so it is super loud. Like, I have music playing in my earbuds, and this is like, it's like loud enough to almost drown it out. Don't know if it's picking up on the microphone or not, because it's a nice directional microphone, but yikes. So loud. I should have done that line. Dang it. Okay, getting there. Let's see. I need to do. What am I looking at here? This is the question. What on earth am I looking at? What do these lines even mean? Goodness gracious. I am not 100% sure what I'm looking at here. It's confusing. Okay, I might need to step away from that for a second and straighten it out so I can figure out what's happening there. Oh, I see. Okay. That's not actually supposed to be the line that was confusing me is not supposed to be a vertical line. It is actually going toward the vanishing point. And it's supposed to be part of the floor. That's why it was confusing. I was like, what does this line go to? I don't understand. We're going to give this nice big bold line here for this pillar, and maybe that should help make this make more sense. Ugh. Okay, I think that is going to help clarify that strange line situation. I did not get as much ink on that nib as I thought I did. It's always such a delicate balancing act when you're like, I want a nice thick bold line, but I need to use a straight edge, and I don't want to accidentally overload it and get a giant puddle of ink on my picture and then be sad. All right, that's all very, very wet now with those very thick lines. So I'm going to move over here, work over here for a little bit, and hopefully not drag through that and make a mess. That's the idea. These are some very light, thin lines we got going over here. Oh, now I hear a helicopter outside. Good grief. You know, it's usually pretty quiet around here until I go to stream. Ooh, that helicopter is flying low and fast. It's probably life flight. We're kind of on the flight path for life flight from points north to the hospital, so they fly over our house pretty frequently. That low and fast, that's almost certainly who it was. So. This is the boring stuff that people who live in the woods talk about, by the way. Oh yeah, a helicopter flew over today. Like, I live on a dead-end road in the middle of the woods, so I don't have, like, traffic, and when cars go down my road that I know are not my neighbors, it's, like, a notable occurrence. And there's all of, 2 houses past me on the dead-end road. So, yeah, that's my super exciting life here, guys. If you didn't realize this was the thrilling content you were signing up for, but apparently it is. All right, I'm going to work on this little basket here because I'm tired of messing with that ruler. I need a break from it for a minute. So let's make this little basket. This is supposed to be, it doesn't look like much right now in the drawing. I'm hoping that when it's colored, it'll make more sense. These are supposed to be like bright colored mosaic tiles in this basket. So you can like reach in and just grab some fun bright colored tiles is the idea. And they're like salvaged from other places. So maybe they're like fun colors or something that you wouldn't normally be able to find. I like to come up with little stories about what's going on in the pictures that I'm working on. Sometimes I have a story that they're a part of, and sometimes I just have, it's a place, so I got to come up with something for myself. But I feel like having those little stories helps to give the illustration more life and more verisimilitude, and it gives me it gives me something to focus on to make sure that I'm making smart decisions in the drawing and not just kind of putting in pointless blobs that don't mean anything. So like an example of this that I just saw recently, I'm currently watching on Crunchyroll in my little tiny bit of leisure time in my life. I'm watching Fruits Basket, the new version of the anime that just started coming out like last year, I think, a couple years ago, maybe. I've read the entire manga a couple times. I watched the version of the anime that came out in the early aughts because I was in high school then, and so it was very much my jam. I became a huge Fruits Basket fan. I'm still a huge Fruits Basket fan. I love that show. It's great. I love the manga. It's pretty great for most of it. It's great until it's dumb, which unfortunately happens to a lot of long-running manga. So I remember the new anime is significantly higher budget than the older one was, I'm pretty sure. I mean, the older one was not bad by any means. It was just kind of like a mid-tier, it's a slice of life anime. We don't need to spend a bunch of money on this. It's just, characters standing around and talking. It's fine. But the newer one is clearly a higher budget production. My phone is ringing. It is spam. Leave me alone. I am talking about anime. Don't interrupt an obnoxious weeb talking about anime. Anyway, as I was saying, this new one is clearly a higher budget production. Like everything about it is just kind of higher budget, I'm pretty sure. And now that originally the old anime, when it was coming out, the manga wasn't finished yet, and so they had to make some decisions about what they were doing. And once the manga was complete, it was pretty clear that those decisions were not necessarily the right ones, but that's what they did. So now they have the whole manga to make better decisions about what they're showing early on in the anime, which is pretty cool. But also they know that this thing is going to be popular and make money because there's already a huge fan base that's like, oh my god, yes, more Fruits Basket! Do the Fruits Basket again! But to bring this back around to the actual point of why I was bringing this up, other than Fruits Basket is awesome and you should watch it because I'm obnoxious about it, is that a lot of the backgrounds in the old one were very soft and faded and not very specific. It was more like impressions of backgrounds, which I think was partially a stylistic choice and partially a budgetary choice. But in this new one, the backgrounds are very good. It's still just a slice of life type anime where it's just it's a drama. It's an interpersonal drama for the most part. So the backgrounds are just regular places. It's just inside this guy's house, a classroom, a park, that sort of thing. But they still are clearly putting a lot more love and care and attention into these backgrounds. So there's this one thing where one of the characters has a garden in their backyard, just a little vegetable garden. And in the original one, it's just yes, and his vegetables are just rows of green blobs. Whereas in this version, they showed a wide shot of his garden, and I also garden, so I'm oh, I can tell at a glance, I can recognize every vegetable growing in his garden, which is pretty cool. They're not just green blobs, they're specific identifiable plants. I can tell, oh yeah, there's the kale, there's the beans, there's the leeks. I can recognize all of this. And in the opening theme, there's a little scene of that character in his garden, and in the foreground there's just some leaves, and you'd just be if you didn't if you didn't recognize them, if you aren't familiar with a lot of different domesticated plants, you'd just be like, yeah, they're just some leaves. But I can recognize that they're strawberry plant leaves. Like, you don't see the strawberry fruit, but I recognize them as strawberry plant leaves because of the level of care and attention going into the backgrounds. And that's actually significant to like another character moment that happens in the story. And that's just so awesome. I love that. That like makes me so happy. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that like if you actually think about a background piece, an environmental piece, and you let your story influence that and inform that, then you make better decisions and you get a deeper level of appreciation for that. It makes for a lot richer experience for your audience. So that's why I have a basket of tiles. That's the very long, drawn out explanation of my basket of tiles. And me nerding out about Fruits Basket, because I'm always and forever, even though I'm in my mid-30s, I am always and forever weeb trash for Fruits Basket. I can't help it. I still have a Fruits Basket wallet that I bought in like 2005, and it is falling apart, and they don't make them anymore. I hoped that with the new series, because there's a lot of new Fruits Basket merch out there, I hoped there would be like an updated version of my wallet, and there isn't. I found some like knockoffs on Wish, and I'm like, no, those are gonna be sad and trash if they ever even arrive. Like if these actually even exist, and it's not just Wish trying to take my money and promise me things it cannot deliver on. But sadly, no. I didn't even find any like Fruits Basket wallets in general, not specifically the one I have, but not even something else that I could replace it with, which is too bad. Because my wallet is finally definitely on the way out. The fake leather is like delaminating and starting to pull apart on one of the flaps. So it is not long for this world before it completely just disintegrates. And then I will be quite sad indeed. I'll have to get some boring, regular, grown-up person wallet. Like, I like having the wallet of a 12-year-old. Leave me alone. It's also just like one of these weird, like, things that you don't think about too often of like, I've had this same wallet for my entire adult life and I'm not prepared to replace it. I don't know what I would even replace it with, and I don't want to get a boring grown-up wallet, but I'm also not like, unlike a lot of nerdy people and people who do things like make comics and illustrate games for a living, I'm not super into the everything in my life must be fandom thing. So like I don't have like another fandom that I'm like, oh yeah, I want a thing from that. Like I have other stuff that I'm super into, but not that's heavily merchandised. Like I'm really not into stuff like, really not into a lot of other anime. I'm not really into Harry Potter. I'm not in thankfully at this point. I'm not even into like any comic series enough that I would really want to have my wallet be from it. So it's such a random, silly thing to be a concern. Oh, hey, look. That's not actually in perspective. That's why I'm trying to line up to it, and I'm going over my other lines that are more in perspective. Good job, past Amanda. Good job, past Amanda, making my life difficult by losing the grid. I'm going to try to split the difference and correct this a little bit. But not so much that I have to totally redraw it. Oh, look, I lost the grid there too. Yeah, past Amanda making all sorts of bad mistakes. That was quite a very long random aside about needing a new wallet. Sorry about that. I might just bum around on Etsy and see if I find something cool that inspires me. That looks like something I might actually want. I just really don't want to end up with a boring, like, plain grown-up wallet. That would make me sad. And to be clear, I don't begrudge anybody or harbor any mean-spirited opinions toward people who do like having all fandom everything. It's just not me. I just don't feel it. There's very few things that I'm into enough that I ever even own a t-shirt of them. Never mind something that would be on my person, like a wallet, at all times. All right. Well, that's a whole bunch more boring straight lines. Let me now work on, I think I'm going to work on this rug. That looks like fun. What are we at? 32 minutes. I'm making some pretty good progress on here. I'm going to straighten my back up for a second before I launch into the next section. All right, let's work on this little carpet down here. I'm going to try to periodically pick spots where I can kind of work a little bit before I have to go back in and do more tool stuff so that I'm not going crazy just doing boring straight edge and French curve stuff the whole time. Little tassels on the end here that I definitely at some point drawing them just gave up and didn't actually figure out which little series of lines was going to which little knot there. Good job. Man, past Amanda was getting real tired of working on this one apparently. Future Amanda's gonna be mad about me adding details to this carpet that I'm gonna have to color. Really, we know who the villain is in all of these scenarios. It's present Amanda. She's always the worst. There we go. That's some nice little patterns on that rug. Just vague, squibbly, geometric patterns. There's another illustration for another skirmisher project that I'm working on right now that I'm in the coloring phase. And it's got like a little mosaic going on the floor. And I definitely like just flat colored it and then was like, oh no, I know, I need to make this look cooler. I'm going to add a bunch of slightly off-colored little dots so that it looks more like a mosaic. Oh, I did it to one spot. I gotta now do it everywhere. Why? Why do I do these things to myself? There's the carpet. Well, the rug, I guess. It's not a carpet. It's just a rug. It's just in one. What's the difference between a rug and a carpet? What's the actual, like, interior design difference? Can anyone tell me? I don't know. I always assumed a carpet was, like, if it covered the whole floor or, like, the like, majority of the floor, and then a rug was, like, a smaller thing. That seems to make sense to me, but then I hear people use the terms not like that, and then I'm confused. What do I know? Again, we're going to add some very light lines to like this little rug detail here, because while I want there to be a pattern on this rug, I do not want it to be leaping to the forefront and taking a bunch of attention away from more important things. I don't want it to look like there's objects lying on the floor. It's just part of the pattern on the rug, so we're going to keep these lines pretty light. I'm not even going to like fully connect them. Just trying to keep it from getting too dominant and jumping too far forward in the image. I want to keep this pushed back a little bit, and even right next to it there, so that's like the border, and then the actual edge of the rug is going to be a slightly bolder line, so that that's a more defined like physical thing, and that's just the pattern on the thing, if that makes sense. More of these little lines where the floorboards meet. Gotta clean my pen and my straight edge off before they get all gunky. I think I'm going to work on this little window frame here. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with this window when it gets to coloring it. I'm not sure whether I'm going to want it to just be like an empty window frame, or if I want it to be like a stained glass window. I guess it kind of depends on what the balance of the rest of this image is looking like. I kind of left my options open with the way that I drew it. It could easily just be plain window, could be stained glass. We will see. Sometimes these decisions have to wait until the coloring stage, because I've done a lot of digital coloring in the last year. The In the Footsteps of Hercules project is really showing, like the one that I'm currently working on for Skirmisher, where I still have to do a lot of digital coloring, is really showing how much work I put into the City Builder project, because City Builder, I had to do a ton of these like full page, fully rendered on like fully colored on the computer illustrations, which is not my usual wheelhouse. But that's what I ended up doing for so much of this project, and it really, really kind of upped my game on the digital coloring. Yeah, hang on, I'm spinning the paper around again. It really upped my game on digital coloring. Not that I'm like I'm still doing the same kind of like almost comics coloring style, where I still have the black lines. It's certainly not digital painting. That's not really what I'm interested in doing. And that's fine. I get that that's the thing right now, and it has been for some time, probably still will be for some time. I'm not prepared to say that that's going to be the style forever, because it won't, because that's not how style works. And I'd rather just keep getting better at what I do and letting the people who like what I do find me and come to me, or having us find each other, than constantly be chasing whatever is the thing these days. Which, I mean, there's different schools of thought on that, as far as, you know, your employability as an illustrator, of like, you got to be doing what's trendy, you've got to be doing what's selling right now, or you have to just be the best version of you that you can possibly be, and people who appreciate you and what you do will employ you. And sometimes you'll be in higher demand because you're closer to what's on trend, and sometimes you'll be in lower demand because that's not what's on trend, and you just have to kind of accept that. Those are the two different philosophies. I think it's better long term to just be the best you can be. Obviously, that's the way I feel, because that's what I'm doing. But I think that doing City Builder really helped make me a better version of me. Helped get me to a better place. These lines are wonky. What is going on over here? I think I'm a lot more comfortable in the style of coloring that I do. It's still not like the trendy type of coloring that is the thing right now, but it's a better version of my coloring. Whatever that means. Making some pretty good progress here. I think I actually want to start tackling this cool little like mandala screen back here. It's supposed to be, it's hard to tell in the pencils. It'll make a lot more sense in the colors, and this is supposed to be like a wooden like screen. It was this type of, going back to the place that I got the inspiration for this space from, it was a type of thing they always had a lot. I'm gonna do this real quick, this beam that's in front of it real quick before I get too involved in that, just so that that is done in front of it. Okay, don't hook on the edge of the page there, French curve. That's not helpful. That's better. Oh, and then I ran out of ink. Come on, really? There we go. Okay, so I got that line in front there. So what I was saying before I sidetracked myself is that it was this type of thing that they always had as like these big, impressive statement pieces in this like antiques and imports place that I used to like to pop into. In Savannah, I would shop there for gifts sometimes, because they did have like little tiny like tchotchkes and stuff that you could buy. And so I'd often get those like for Christmas. They had really cool Christmas ornaments and that sort of thing. But they also had like really big, expensive furniture and like decor pieces that I would never be able to afford, but that were really cool to look at. And they'd have these great big like carved wooden wall hanging screen things. And they usually had like kind of floral motifs to them. I always really loved them, but of course it was something that it's enormous. You'd need a mansion to have the space anywhere in your house to put them. They were like probably like, they're like 8 feet by 8 feet. Like truly enormous wooden wall hanging things that like I guess you could use as like a room divider or something if you hung it from the ceiling, or just as a cool piece of art on the walls. And they were like thousands of dollars, of course, but I liked them. I thought they were cool. They usually hung them up like in the windows facing the street. So that's kind of what this is supposed to be, which does not make a lot of sense in just the drawing, but will hopefully make more sense once it is inked and colored. It'll be a little bit clearer what it is. It's also kind of a fun challenge trying to figure out how to make this kind of design that filled up this space and utilized it well. But of course in the pencils it's a little bit like scribbly as I tried to figure out what I was doing. And I can make it a little bit cleaner in the inks and then make it hopefully actually make sense what you're looking at come the colors. Versus what is negative space. I feel like that's still probably a little muddled because it's so busy. Like if I were not coloring this, I would make it more obvious where the negative space is by probably like filling in a texture. But since I'm coloring it, I don't really need to do that. That'll just kind of make the colors muddy. So I'm just gonna leave that to be another problem for future Amanda. I mean, not really a problem. It's just that's gonna have to be made a little more clear at that stage, because this is just, with the fact that it's going to be colored, it just wouldn't really benefit the end product to add that kind of definition at this stage, if that makes sense. What are we at for time? We're at 50 minutes, so I'm going to have to start telling you all the things, because I usually keep these to just about an hour, because We've all got stuff to do. I gotta get up and stretch on occasion. So let me start telling you all the things. I'm Amanda Call. I am working currently on an illustration for the very last bit of outstanding business from the City Builder Platinum Edition release from Skirmisher Publishing. This is not actually part of the book. I think it's going to be like a download for backers. The book's already out. It's been out for a while. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. We all put a ton of work into it. But this is like a background, a place that has been created with collaboration from one of our high-level backers, which is pretty cool. It's a curiosity shop, and I'm doing the illustration for it, and then I think that'll really be the last bit of outstanding City Builder business done, which is pretty exciting. That is something you can find, you can purchase on Skirmisher's website, skirmisher.com. They've got their own web store there. It's pretty great. You can get all of their stuff. It's digital downloads. Book for this particular publication is available on the big evil website where you can buy all the things. Starts with an A, named after a big famous river. You know the one. You can also, if you liked watching me draw and ink this, you can like the video. You can subscribe to this channel and hit the little bell thing so that it'll tell you when I go live again. It's usually like a Friday or Saturday afternoon, but it's not always a Friday or Saturday afternoon because my life is crazy. So that's why it's helpful to hit the notification thing so that when it's not the times that it should be, you will still know when it is. You can also follow me on Instagram at Amanda Call Art. You can follow me on Twitter at Age of Night. That's AGEOFNIGHT. That is the name of my webcomic, which you can find at ageofnight.com. And it updates every Wednesday. I'm usually working on Age of Night pages on these live streams, but I'm at the very end of a chapter, so literally every page is just so spoilery. I don't want to work on them on the streams. So you gotta wait a few more weeks until I finish the chapter and we're on the beginning of the next chapter and things are more innocuous and enough has been posted and revealed online that I don't feel bad showing it to people. I just don't want to spoil my own comic. That seems like a bad plan. You can also, if you like my work, support me on Patreon. I'm on patreon.com/ageofnight. Or just search my name. That works too. You'll find me either way. And yeah, I think that's it. No upcoming appearances anytime soon because everything is canceled. Oh, I will actually be in a game online this weekend for the online Gen Con thing they're doing. I'll be playing the Alien RPG at 3 o'clock Eastern on Saturday. So that should be fun. All right. I think that's about it for today. I started with just pencils on this illustration, and I've managed to ink a good portion of the background. I'm off to a pretty good start, so hopefully I'll be able to finish this up shortly. Thank you so much for everybody for coming and hanging out and watching me while I work, and I'll see you next time. Bye.